Yeah, I think this is right to make bases.
No, it's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess this is over.
So that's it? So we're good? Oh,
So go ahead. Where were you during the 1980
all right. I was actually in San Francisco as well. I am a product of San Francisco. I was born in San Francisco, but I've always lived in Oakland. Our family's always lived in Oakland. And I was attending elementary school or after school program at John Sweat. It's an elementary school between Gulf and Franklin on Golden Gate, and it's actually right by the Fell exit where it used to be. And so there was also a double-decker. There was also a double-decker part of the freeway there as well. So I guess since it did occur in the afternoon, we were in an after-school program. We had just come inside from like a recess part of the program, and we were still playing inside, doing homework, and we were in the auditorium, which happens to be at the very bottom of the building, about a 3 to 4 story building, old brick building. And when it shook, it was an experience because I've never felt it before. I'm like 7, 8 years old. And we had always been taught, in California or San Francisco, we'd always been taught to go underneath the table, but instead all of us ran out the door. And all I remember is seeing the lights that were dangling from the roof kind of sway, and they were flickering off. And so we were all kind of running towards the only light in the room, which was coming from the door, the one door. And it was kind of like they are here where there are two, but the only one was unlocked. So you see like there's at least maybe 50 of us trying to scramble out this one door, and we ended up in the middle of the playground, or what would you call it, the field. Yeah, thank you. So we ended up out there. It's been such a long time, but I don't remember what I can hear, but all I remember is everyone was just really scared. We were just all huddled around each other, and I think someone was trying to get a radio so we could find out what was going on. And you know, I black out because the next thing I know, I'm worried about my parents because my father's in Oakland and my mother works downtown San Francisco in the financial district right off of, well, she was actually around the bus depot off of 3rd. So she has a whole nother story. I was trying to convince her to come tell it as well. And so all I can remember is her showing up, freaked out, and then us driving to my grandmother's house, which happened to be maybe about a mile or 2 away from the elementary school, and that was, she's in the Richmond district and she's right off of Gary. And we ended up, you know, spending the night there for a couple nights because of course we had heard or seen the news about the freeway, the bridge, and just being really horrified that we hadn't been on the same structure that collapsed, or the cypress that collapsed and got sandwiched, because we too could have been in that same predicament, because we too take that every day to get to and from work or San Francisco. So we were all very thankful of that. No one in my family got hurt, but after the earthquake, we did finally get back to Oakland, but it was actually the next day, so it was the 18th, and we went the roundabout way. We went the Golden Gate and then went to this Richard Samerfeld Bridge and then came into Oakland. The house was fine. We live on Magnolia Street between 10th and 12th, and we had just moved in. Everything was fine. Trying to think what else, but I believe it was just like it was a very sad day. I remember being very curious to find out, or actually see, the cypress that had fallen, And I do remember trying to, because I always bike, I love to bike, so I'd always bike up and down Mandela, or Cypress as it was called. And remember trying to get behind the blockage, because it was about a block away, and I was just trying to see it because I had to see it for myself. Somehow I got around it, or I went to a section that wasn't so secure and just sat there and stared at it and just like cried and prayed and just like was just like in awe of seeing this magnificent, you know, structure just failed, and hearing all the sad stories about how many people had passed away and got killed. It was just overwhelming, and it was sad. And I do remember, might have been a couple days after all this, we found out that we could no longer go back to school at the same building. So what did we do? My mom and I had to commute, which was usually about a half an hour to now about an hour, taking the, I think it's the Dumbarton Bridge, going around, and we actually started going to using a building or a schoolhouse, an old one that was no longer being used in Daly City. So instead of half an hour going to downtown, taking the exit that dropped me off right there by the school, we were now taking an hour commute, going to a different neighborhood, a different school, having to, I think we even had to share it with another school. So that was an experience as well. And I do remember there being a panic when the Bay Bridge did finally open up and the freeway had been torn down, and it was just still kind of an unrest, very uneasy feeling, driving and saying, oh, this was where it must have fell, you know, and feeling the bump. And every time you feel the bump, you know, you've got that image in your head. Or anytime you like smell gasoline or tar, you get that same uneasy feeling again. Or every time you see rebar kind of jutting out from somewhere, you kind of get that uneasy feeling, you know, at like 8 years old. And I hate to admit, I slept with my parents in their bed for quite a while. I don't like earthquakes. And still living in the neighborhood in West Oakland, it's still kind of, you still think about it because now it's got that scar. It's not really a scar because they've made it more beautiful. They've added trees where Mandela Street runs along most of West Oakland, and I mean, I pass by it every day going home because I live by the BART station, West Oakland BART station, and you know, it's still a divider, kind of divides the neighborhood, but you know, you don't get away from it. And you know, it's been life-changing. I'm petrified of it. I work at UC Berkeley now, and I work in one of probably the worst buildings seismically on the 7th floor, and knowing that the big one, you know, is eventually going to come, and knowing that, you know, I'm at fault right through Berkeley. I'm not feeling very secure about that, but we've got individual safety kits, and I remember as a kid really pushing my parents to, we've got to get the water, we've got to get our clothes together, we've got to get our food together, we've got to, you know, so I'm constantly in a state of mind of being prepared. My mom is also in the Corps, that was earlier mentioned. The community around her house, still on Magnolia, they come together and they build that core group for the neighborhood. So there's been a lot of changes. It's become a culture, it's become a movement, and I guess I get kind of shaky in the knees just thinking about it because I'm really petrified of it. But that's it. That's my story. I'm Christina Hurd. All right, that's it. Great, thanks.